Hello YouTube, what is going on? It's your boy GZTV back with another video, and in this video we are going to be talking about Dexter, and most importantly we are going to be talking about Season 8 Episode 3, the most recent episode we watched. One of the craziest episodes of the show so far, honestly. A lot of things are starting to boil down. This series is trying to find a resolution because we know that 8 is the last season of the show. You know, the plot, the critical reception, we're going to try to make this a shorter format, but I don't think that's going to happen. But with Sussman's body arranged to look like a suicide, Miami Metro closes the brain surgeon case, a serial killer who removes pieces of his victims' brains and focuses on El Sapo, played by Nick Gomez, a hitman hired by the mob whom Deborah killed in the previous episode. And we know, Deborah had to deal with him because of Briggs and all this stuff. And she obviously works for Elway Investigation. Dexter, however, knows that Sussman has been framed and the real killer is still at large. The killer actually framed Sussman to be caught, but obviously he got killed. He killed himself. Deb is arrested for DUI and damaging city property. A parking meter, obviously very petty, but still city property. She calls Joey Quinn, played by Desmond Harrington, who has the charges dropped, obviously because he works in Miami Metro, and when she gets booked, he can talk to some officers, have a favor, pay them off, all that shit. Quinn expresses his worries about Deborah, which she shrugs off. I mean, you can't really take her seriously when she's intoxicated, to be fair, so, yeah. Deb and Jacob Elways, played by Sean Patrick Flannery, their latest case involves a woman, played by Rebecca Stapp, who suspects her husband of cheating. And they do all sorts of really weird, petty cases. It's not really, a police thing, so they're only licensed to cover certain cases. They catch him in the act, but she patently denies the photographic evidence. Obviously, that's a stage of grief. We know that. As Dexter and Dr. Vogel continue to track down the brain surgeon, Vogel finds two pieces of a human occipital lobe, the part of the brain used for seeing, on her doorstep. Dexter theorizes they are being watched, and one is for him and one is for her. So now the real brain surgeon knows that Dexter was a part of this. From her list of patients, they suspect Ron Galuzzo, played by Andrew Elvis Miller, a fitness equipment salesman who once murdered his friend. So yeah, this is a guy that has a criminal record, and they're going to try to find him and catch him for being the brain surgeon. He might not be the brain surgeon for sure, but there's some very fucked up things about him. We're going to find that out. Vogel suspects he might want revenge on her since she institutionalized him and pretty much put him in a box. Suspicious when he denies knowing Vogel, Dexter breaks into his house to discover human body parts and organs in his refrigerator. Yeah, it's kind of fucking wild. When Dexter insists that he loves Deborah, Vogel says that he only loves the things she does for him. He also notes how she and Harry, obviously played by James Remar, disagreed over the most important rule of the code. While Harry thought it should be to never kill an innocent person, Vogel maintained that it was most important to not get caught. I mean, yeah, don't get caught, obviously, because your freedom's being put at risk. But yeah, you don't want to kill innocent people. That makes you, an actual monster. I mean, Dexter is a pretty fucked up person, but at least he justifies his killings. Meanwhile, Angel Batista, obviously played by David Zayas, tries to motivate Quinn to pass the sergeant's exam as Jamie, played by Amy Garcia, gets jealous of the time Quinn spends with Deb. I mean, he's just trying to help her as an old coworker. You shouldn't really think much of it, but people are weird. Relationships get toxic. Dexter takes Deborah to dinner to assuage her guilt, pointing out a man dining in the restaurant with his family, identifying him as the man she saved during a restaurant shooting in the 5th season. And this is obviously to motivate her to get back on the high horse and get her job back as either lieutenant, detective, whatever. She needs to be in Miami Metro. She belongs in homicide. This only worsens her guilt, and she later drunkenly confesses to an unconvinced Quinn to LaGuerta's murder. She drunkenly confesses. She actually did it, but no one's going to believe her because she's under the influence. Quinn calls Dexter, who arrives with Vogel. Dexter gives Deborah an M99 injection, telling Quinn she fainted, brings her home, and asks Vogel to help her. Vogel needs to stay behind and kind of give her a therapy session. The episode closes with the cannibalistic Galuzzo strapped to Dexter's table as a disheartened Dexter narrates that he also consumes everyone he loves. Obviously, there's some very fucked up, twisted monologues that go into this show. But yeah, I feel like the big chunk of this review is going to be actually like looking through reviews and like giving you guys my thoughts off of it. This episode's okay. I mean, it is really crazy, like the shock value and stuff. Vogel and Elway's true intentions are kind of questionable. Vogel's character and Charlotte Rampling's portrayal of her is really good so far this season. The cannibal plotline was, I don't know. No one really gave a fuck. I don't really give a fuck about that. I was more interested in like Jennifer Carpenter's acting and Deborah's arc than whatever the hell was happening in the background. If they focused more on Deborah, this probably would have been a better episode. Deb's arc is kind of like sluggish filler, but it's still enjoyable. Compared to the last episode, maybe that her character arc wasn't as strong. I don't know. Vogel's continuing role in the series, the cannibal plotline, kind of comical. The episode retreads some of the ground made in the previous episode. It was too obvious that Galuzzo is not the brain surgeon, so like I don't know. There wasn't that many surprises here. Galuzzo's plot was kind of cartoonish. I was kind of wary of the brain surgeon arc as a whole. Jennifer Carpenter did great. Carpenter continues to deliver a strong performance in allowing the character to unravel. The scene with Deborah in the police station was kind of weird. It's kind of convenient how no other character saw her and that Quinn seemed dismissive rather than suspicious. Like, even if she is drunk and she's like confessing, like you should still be like, okay, there's something going on. She at least knows about some details. The writers kind of took advantage of Quinn's idiotic nature as a character. Quinn's always like just on the edge of discovering Dexter's secret, and that's kind of a storyline the writers have utilized throughout the show. Nothing wrong with it necessarily, but I'm just telling you guys what I noticed. Carpenter's portrayed Deborah's despair and hopelessness very well. The episode seemed to put the characters into forced situations, especially in the last third, though. And that's kind of some negatives. Deborah has hit rock bottom completely. I mean, Damaged Deb is getting to be a little bit of a drag. It kind of reminds me of Carol and The Walking Dead. Obviously, we're watching both of those shows present. And in the present, Deborah's like kind of trying to redeem herself here. The show was shifting its sympathies from Dexter to Deborah, which is really interesting. Carpenter has great range as an actress. Deborah's scenes, they were terrific, riveting. Jennifer Carpenter once again poured all she has into Deb's collapse. It was impossible not to be teetering on the edge of one's seat as Deb entered the police station and fell apart, wanting to confess it all. The brain surgeon arc and Galuzzo's story were kind of insignificant. The conflict between Dexter and Deb is kind of the main dramatic crux. As long as Deb's out of control, Dex is a mere shell of his old existence. Deborah's character arc and the differences between Deborah and Deborah and Dexter is becoming more and more important as we go on. Dexter's the name of the show, but Deborah is the story of the show. Evelyn Vogel's character, we can talk about her for a little bit. Like, her motherly and tough love relationship to Dexter was great. Vogel makes no apologies for what Dexter is and loves him because of his homicidal tendencies, not in spite of them. The brain surgeon arc kind of had potential, but obviously they pitched it. Vogel is kind of like Dexter's surrogate mother at this point. Vogel is great as a mediator in the show's philosophical arguments. I really like the debate she brought up, and whether Dexter really loves Deb. That makes you really think about the show a little bit. Rampling's performance is pretty Emmy-worthy. The thematic grounds the character helps cover is great. Her role to both praise and interrogate Dexter's processes is also great. Very interesting conversations between Dexter and Vogel. Especially in how, Vogel misunderstands Dexter as being incapable of love towards Deb. He's kind of a psychopath, so she doesn't think he really has a soft spot for her. And yeah, that's going to be a really interesting duo to kind of watch for the rest of the series. Obviously, there is a spin-off that was made in 2020 or something like that, and we will get to that after Season 8. But leave a like, comment, subscribe. GZTV, as always, covering your favorite TV shows. This review is a little shorter than my other Dexter reviews, but I did that on purpose. You know, this episode has a lot to talk about, but a lot of consistent things. So I kind of wanted to make it. Sorry, I just got off work. A concise video. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to be doing a 2K gameplay, but the Travis Scott song bracket I'm going to be live streaming here on YouTube.